Yeah, there we go. All set. Okay. All right. So how's everybody doing? Good? Awesome. Before I tell you what I do, I'm kind of curious, can you guys see if I'm standing here? Because I got to be able to hit the button. So I want to know, how many of you know who that kid is? Only a couple of you? Okay. His name is Ryan, and I think he's about 6 years old. And guess what? This kid made $11 million on YouTube in 1 year. Can you believe that? It's a lot, right? So how many of you think that sounds pretty cool? Now, how many of you think he's ever going to have like a desk job or work a real job in the rest of his life? Probably not, right? Does that sound like something fun? How many of you guys would like to do something cool and fun like that and be able to just do what you want? That's right, he did that by playing with toys. Which still, like, that blows my mind, right? So what do? Well, I do some of that. I get to ride my bike around in beautiful sunny places. I get to tour factories that make bicycles. So this is the parts of a carbon fiber bicycle frame before it's fully assembled. And I get to go to all kinds of different factories and watch how the bikes are made, the components are made, and meet the people who design them and make them. And that means all over the world. I've been to Taiwan to see how it's done. I've been to Europe to see how it's done. I've been all over the US to see how people make all these parts. And then I get to go ride in beautiful places like this. Like this is in Banff, Canada this past summer. Does that look pretty? Who would like to go there? Yeah? So I do all of that because I write about bicycles and about the technology and the parts and the people that make them for my website called Bike Groomer. And the reason I started Bike Groomer was because I just really liked bikes. I like riding bikes. I liked all the little parts. I like to see how light and fast I could make my bike. So I thought it would be cool to have an excuse to write about those parts, get those parts in and test them and meet the people that made them. So for me, like, I'm not a 6-year-old Ryan that wants to play with toys and open boxes. I'm a 43-year-old Tyler that wants to play with big shiny metal toys called bicycles and open boxes of cool new parts all day. And so that's how I make my living. I don't make quite as much as Ryan, but still, like, I get to go travel the world and ride bikes for a living. Does that sound kind of cool? What's that? I have not yet. I've reached more than 1 million page views.
What's your yearly income?
I'm not going to tell you that, but it's enough to employ several people and travel whenever I want. So that lets me do things like this. This is Badlands in South Dakota with Cameron and her brother and her mom. We get to do crazy things like that sometimes. I get to do hiking around and play, climb through the woods and go on adventures. We get to do this. This is somewhere else in Canada from this summer trip. We've gone to places like Yellowstone and Grand Canyon. And the point of all this is, the point of all this is not to like show off where I've been. It's to show you that I have found a way to do what I wanted to do and have fun every single day because I get to do whatever I want every day. Does that sound like a cool job? Okay, so what I want to do today is not so much tell you like why I write, or that I write about bikes. What I want to do is kind of inspire you guys to think the same way. But also I want you to know, like, there are definitely some hard days, right? So there's days, if you think about little Ryan there, you know, there's days where his parents are filming him 3 or 4 segments. So he's got to sit there for hours and open toys. So maybe he's kind of over it. Maybe he's not feeling well. But he's got to sit there and he's still got to open toys and he's got to have a smile on his face. He's got to be happy for the camera. He's got to look excited about what he's doing, even if maybe he opens a toy and it's kind of a lame toy. He's still, you know, he's got to put on a good face. So right, he thought some toys were lame, so he's honest, and that's good. But the point is, like, So even if you think of what you guys want to do and what you love doing, there's still going to be some days that are going to feel like work. There's some days when I really don't want to write long stories about bicycles. I'd rather be outside riding a bicycle, but I still have to do it because if I'm not writing those stories, then my business isn't making me a living.
My dad is all about mountain biking.
So I'm kind of curious, what do you guys like to do? And I know I'm gonna get a couple answers in a minute, but I have some ideas. So I know you guys do your market every other week or so, and so a lot of you guys get to make cool things that you like making, right? Some crafts and stuff. So what I was thinking is, like, how many of you thought about making those crafts at times other than market? Like, have you thought about making them and selling them at the farmer's market, or putting them on, having your parents help you put them on Etsy and sell that stuff? Just for, as long as it's fun, right? So, okay, you raise your hand. What's up? What do you like to do?
Make compost.
Make compost? That's awesome. How about you?
I like to just smell what I make. And have it with good scent.
Yeah, like food and stuff, or like candle?
Like candles and sugar stuff.
That's awesome. Cool. How about you?
I also like to make like a month or so. I like 50 miles.
Wow.
My brothers.
That's awesome. Okay, let's do this side. You?
I make magnets and zipper pulls, and they're fun to make.
Awesome. Cool. And all right, you too. And then,
I like to make big mountains.
right, cool. How about you? Awesome. All right, so we've got, that's enough examples for now. But so we've got compost, we've got making candles, we've got riding bikes, we've got dog treats and other things like that. So a lot of those things, like, you could make them for the craft market. You could make them and sell them at the farmer's market. The compost, I think, would be awesome because there's a lot of farmers and people who have small gardens there. And I'm not trying to tell you to go start a job and make your hobby and passion into work at this age, but what I would encourage you to do is to keep doing that, because I started riding a bike when I was a kid, and now I've been writing about bikes for 10 years. And so when I first started, it took a long time for me to figure out a story and do a lot of research, and now I know it, so I can knock it out super quick. I can write stories very well and very fast, and it makes my job easier and more fun for me. And so what I would challenge for each of you is, when you're doing these things, every time you're doing it, you're making compost or a dog treat or a candle, think about how can you do that a little bit better. What could you have improved from this time to the next time? Because as you keep doing that, if you think about it, in a year, in 2 years or 3 years, you're going to be so good at that one thing that it's going to be so easy. And then other people who might want to do that thing would want to talk to you about how you could do it. So you could do that on Facebook when you're older and you're allowed to get on Facebook. You could start a blog right now. Everybody can start a WordPress blog for free. You can teach that at classes, maybe at the market. Instead of selling your compost, maybe you have a little booklet of here's how you can make compost at home, and you tell other people how to do it. And those are the kinds of things that you can eventually turn into some kind of paying job, And you could even, if your parents are okay with it, you could even film yourself making those things or doing those things and put it on YouTube, just like Ryan does, and run ads against that, which is how Ryan is making all that money. I had a couple other examples that I thought of that I would just share, just to kind of get people thinking differently. So, like, who likes unicorns? Who thinks they can draw a pretty good unicorn? Okay, so imagine if you drew a unicorn every day and you put it on Instagram, or you put it on your own little blog or something, or maybe your mom or dad just posted it to Facebook. Every day a new picture of a unicorn by whoever, right? And so you did it every day. After 2 or 3 years, you're going to have a lot of pictures of unicorns, right? Well, you're probably going to be really, really good at drawing different kinds of unicorns in different styles and different colors and different shapes, right? So let's just say, for instance, maybe, I don't know if Katy Perry's still cool with you guys, but let's just say Katy Perry has a new album, right? And she wants a unicorn on the cover. And you're now famous for drawing unicorns because you've drawn so many. Or maybe Katy Perry comes and says, hey, how would you like to draw a unicorn for my new album cover? And I'll give you backstage passes and you can come to my concert. So what I'm saying is, like, just whatever it is you like doing, if you just keep doing it and other people can see that you're doing it, then you never know where that might lead. It might lead to some amazing opportunities. Even if it never becomes a job, it could just be this awesome side thing that gives you a lot of cool things in your life. And so another way to think about what you're doing is, how is it interesting to others, right? Like compost. Like we talk about how much food scraps we throw away every day, and we're like, man, we should really be composting this. Even though we don't have a garden, we just feel bad throwing it away, right? But I don't even know where to start, you know? So like, if I were going to look it up on, or if I wanted to learn how to compost, I would be looking it up online. And so you have to think, how can you take what you know or what you can do well and make that interesting to others? Because when I started my bike website, I kind of knew from going to the races and talking to other cyclists that a lot of people really wanted to know, like, okay, well, what's the lightest handlebar? What's the lightest tire? How can I make my bike faster? So I knew if I wrote about those things, people would be interested in it, and they would find it, and they would come to my website. And now we do, you know, a few million page views every month, and that gives me the opportunity to sell some ads and make a living off of that. Now, you're just kids, right? Can you really do any of this?
Yes.
That's a great attitude. Does anybody think they couldn't do any of this? That's awesome. That's what I was hoping to see, because you're right. So, you know, I mean, like that kid Ryan, you know, he's 6 years old. His parents are the ones doing the filming. His parents are the ones doing the editing. They're the ones probably calling the toy companies to try and get some toys in for him and stuff. But the point is, he's the one on camera and he can do it, right? So all of these things, there's almost nothing that I've done that you guys couldn't do with a little bit of help from your parents. So if you have an idea, you know, don't just think, oh, well, I'm only 10, I'm only 9, I'm only 11, I can't do that yet. Just think, okay, but if I could do it, how would I do it? And it's usually that first step. It's that first thinking, like, well, if I were going to do it, how would I do it? And then you just start thinking, okay, well, you know, it's a baby step. Like maybe it's like you just go to WordPress.com and you start a blog, right? And again, you guys obviously need to ask your parents' permission before you do anything online at this age. But, you know, it's literally you click and you have a blog. And then you think, okay, well, maybe I want it to be green and blue. So you just click a couple things, you make it green and blue. And it's all these little baby steps. And then before you know it, you've got this blog that you're posting your unicorn pictures to, or your compost instructions, or your how to make a dog treat, or even selling your dog treats. So basically, I just want you guys to think about, how can you do whatever you want? Because wouldn't that be the best job in the world?
Yes, very much so.
Awesome. And that's my last slide. So yeah, any questions? Everybody stoked? Is everybody now thinking, like, what could you do? What could you do for fun and actually make that a living? Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, what's up?